He's already rocking some ESL Pro Tour points, of course, from his victories in the ESL Open Cup and runner-up positions. Something that Reynor, again, really didn't play in. He already played in some of the larger online events in the off-season.
Yeah, there's always the question of, you know, our players maybe taking it a little bit easier and focusing more on the bigger tournaments here. You know, over here in Katowice is really where a lot of the big bucks are there to be made.
Yeah, absolutely.
Taking first place in a group, you guaranteed top 8 and you guaranteed $10,000. That's already massive. And then after that, the pay jumps are like massive too.
It's actually crazy, right? When you think about how much these events are worth. And that's what's been so surprising almost about Europe, that so many people are playing in these $100 weekly cups in the ESL Open, because ShoWTimE has been there pretty much every single week he could be. The only players that have really been missing from those events are Reynor and Cyril.
Yeah, there's always like two ways to look about it, right? Like if for players that are playing in those, like sure, you might be revealing a little bit more of your strategies and all that, but also you're getting great practice.
Yeah, it's very true.
Like you're training so much, like you're working on your consistency and everything, and like you're getting some fantastic warm-up before the tournament. So if you're a Protoss player like ShoWTimE who loves to play somewhat standards, just rely on your mechanics and, you know, your transitions, your scouting and all that, just you try and be very solid, I think it makes sense for him to play in online tournaments, because even though people see what he's doing, it's not like they're like, okay, well, I can counter what he's doing very easily by doing that and that. No, he's still playing very solid.
Yeah, it's not like he's relying on tricky builds, catch you off guard. That's where he gets his advantages. He gets his advantages from just being really, really good. And as we'll see, the first tech structure here soon from ShoWTimE, and it is going to be a Stargate. And he really does love Stargate openers. He is not the guy to go for your Templar Archives, the Archon drops, or anything like that, or the Dark Shrine opening into your Archon drops. He is just going to Stargate. Like I said it in, you know, before the game started, I think Triple Oracle is something on his radar, but also the possibility of going even double Stargate Phoenix, not something he might shy away from in the series.
Yeah, I think his execution is just so good no matter what he does. Like, I mean, he's very capable of going also for the Archon drop and stuff, but it definitely fell a little bit more out of fashion as of late. Like, Stargate is such a solid build that it's just perfect for ShoWTimE. From there, you'll always see him go into a third base, do all the correct transitions, get all of his upgrades, go into Storm. And that will, like, playing Stargate will also allow him to scout a lot more easily. Like, he'll see the saturation when units are being made, and then having Revelation available. Also defensively, like, having Stasis Trap ready on your side of the map, that can help a ton with some of these attacks that Zergs can go for sometimes. Whereas for Reynor, it's really about what exact composition does he go into and how aggressive does he get, right? Like, do we see like a Spire being dropped down when he reaches Lair Tech, or does he maybe go for another avenue, maybe play with like a Nidus and Swarm Host? Like, he has a lot of options.
This is an interesting opening because ShoWTimE has skipped the Phoenix and he skipped the Stalker, so he's actually going to have a few Adepts here early and 2 Oracles very quickly. So this is one of the more aggressive openings in PvZ where you can get across and really deal damage. The Oracle support and the Adepts can really make things get out of control. And it's not like it's a ton of Adepts and that he's, you know, really hugely committed in, but there's an Overlord flying around ShoWTimE's base that he has nothing to deal with. So he's letting Reynor see everything as a follow-up as well and taking a fast third behind him.
Yeah, Reynor has made the correct amount of units so far, and he's been in position every single time. He's being very thorough with the scouting, actually. Even checking the main base, he's going to see that there's the 3rd Oracle on the way, and he's already getting Spore, so good defense so far from Reynor, but when there is that 3rd Oracle coming into play, that's when things are going to get scary, and he's actually making ShoWTimE worry about these Zerglings here. Like, Oracles were kind of staying on them, Adepts were back in position at home, and you know, like, not many units have died, but it feels like they've both already done so much to counter one another that if they had done, you know, a few things differently, either of them could have taken a lot of damage already and kind of started falling apart.
2 more Adepts warped in, and then they're moving across the map with the first 3 as well. So really looking to get something done here. The lane count alone may not be able to do that. Behind it, the Robo Forge coming down, and that is later because Triple Oracle, but by skipping the Phoenix, it's not super late, as that's a commitment in. Where are the Oracles? Nowhere to be found, so the Lings get a pretty good surround, and actually, that's just ShoWTimE, his Adepts getting cleaned up straight away. And
Reynor perfectly anticipated what was going to happen here. He saw the Adepts shading inside of the 3rd base. He's like, oh, I've seen this before. Got ready on the natural with the Queens. And he hasn't really taken any drone damage, I think, so far. He's just lost Lings, that's it.
It's been a really good defense against something that really has been a bit more committed than your typical Stargate opener. So it's really, really good for Reynor here because, again, like I said, 3 Oracles, that Robo's a little bit later than usual, etc. And Reynor knew about this entire time because, again, there was never anything to shut down that Overlord in the main, as the Lings can't do much across the map, but that doesn't matter. He's just droning away right now, Lair, Rotron, and building up into the mid-game.
Yeah, finally, that Overlord's going to go down almost 6 minutes in here. That took a while. I think that's because ShoWTimE purposely wanted to ignore that to really try and do some damage on the other side of the map. Great control here on the Oracles. Ooh, actually, some of these sentries are going to start... Ooh, wow. Never mind.
Yeah, no, I was with you. That was bad. But even using 3 force fields there is kind of rough as well. Usually those sentries in a position where like 1 force field keeps them safe. So now they're all pretty low energy with an Immortal out. It definitely takes away some possible pushing potential. One of the popular follow-ups from a triple Oracle is absolutely trying to get Templar Archives around now and then pushing around 7 minutes or so as Charge finishes up. I mean, Charge is a bit later here, so maybe 7:30 or so. But hitting with like a few Immortals and Archons, and as the gateway count builds up, it's a possibility from ShoWTimE if he wants to get aggressive. It's just also tough when you haven't done initial damage with the Oracles, etc. because Reynor will just have more stuff ready to defend an attack like this.
Yeah, Reynor's +1 melee attack is lining up very well with when Lair finished here. So if you wanted to start +2 very soon, he could do that. Jumps on top of this army here of ShoWTimE, which, I mean, this is supposed to be a fake, but he kind of got caught for a second. He needs to save the sentries. He's still choosing to fight thanks to Guardian Shield. He's reinforcing that position. Immortal looked like he was going to be exposed for a second, but Reynor doesn't quite have enough to get the cleanup.
I mean, here comes the second Immortal, and a couple of cannons back at home from ShoWTimE. Again, as the Temple Archives finishes up, I think the main thing here is there's no Warp Prism, right? So without the Warp Prism, you can't realistically go much further across the map, and he is still just building Immortal after Immortal to make sure back at home he is okay. So from this, we're probably looking at a ShoWTimE who just wants to go up in towards a 4th base, as that's going to be a pretty major lag spike for these guys. Unfortunately, Reynor is just not happy. He's out of here. Yeah, we'll take a moment to... Does he have his hat resting on the monitor stand? That's that's actually insane. Wow.
That's branding right there.
Yeah. That's now that's something I've not seen several do with the hat. He's really owning it, huh?
Yeah. Made me super happy, actually, to see all of these guys getting picked up by teams. I mean, yeah. Initially, Reynor already had a team, but yeah, getting to see him join a Clash, an Italian powerhouse.
Really good fit for him, right? I know they were actually interested in him back when he originally joined the previous team, which was Gamers Origin. So they were interested then, they didn't get him. I mean, what a time to pick him up, right? Coming off of a BlizzCon runner-up spot.
Yeah.
And then ShoWTimE, it's kind of the same story as ShoWTimE. Big or German-based team.
Yeah, perfect.
The best German player next to Hero Marine, you could argue.
And then Razor Edge picked up a bunch of players. Drogo, Bly, and Zest.
There's just teams all over the place, man.
A poker masterclass picking up some guy who loves to all-in like Black. It's just perfect, you know, like this was written in the stars.
They're going to help him raise his edge in these StarCraft games. So yeah, some technical issues here. Looks like Reynor is completely dropping out of this game. So a pause and an interesting moment because I think Reynor's got a lot of map control right now. He's got creep kind of everywhere. He's shut down ShoWTimE at every opportunity, right? He shut down the triple Oracle. He shut down the Adept play. The follow-up fake kind of... I'm not going to say it got kind of shut down, but it didn't do as much as ShoWTimE would have liked. You know, he would have liked to get in there and maybe be able to pick up a couple more creep tumors and really be able to sort of... I mean, he took the fight, which was okay for ShoWTimE, but again, you're missing so much map control as ShoWTimE now because Reynor's just constantly in your face every time you do anything. So it looks as though we're going to be having a quick little break here due to the tech issues. We'll be right back with more Reynor versus ShoWTimE.
My favorite strategy is run by links.
쉽고 빠르게 이기는 거. 심리전, 사람 심리 이용하는 전략 좋아하는 것 같은데 마인드 게임?
오라클 쓰는 걸 좋아해요. 예언자 쓰는 거를.
후반 운영을 되게 좋아합니다.
타이밍 위주의 공격을 선호해요.
My favorite strategy, I think, is just to try to play a little bit macro with a little bit of harassment around everywhere. That's what I like.
없습니다.
Favorite strategy, probably just a regular Stargate opening.
바퀴를 좀 사용하는 걸 좋아합니다.
딱히 선호하는 전략은 없고 그냥 제일 좋은 빌드 하는 거예요.
My favorite strategy was always the Hydra link banning all-in, but it doesn't work anymore, so yeah, I'm looking for something new.
저는 일단 초반에 좀 유리하게 시작하는 전략을 좋아하는 편이에요.
선호하는 전략은요, 그냥 무난하게 하는 걸 좋아해서 정석적인 플레이를 많이 하는 것 같아요.
Blink Stalker.
Anything macro? Overlord speed openings and macro openings in general.
프로토스는 전략이 없어요.
좀 공격적으로 처음에 한번 공격하고 시작하는 걸 좋아해요.
The best player I think is Dark because he won the last big tournament, so I will consider him the best.
No, Dark. Dark, because he won the 2019 BlizzCon. So that's why I think Dark is number one.
지금 아직까지는 좀 세라레라고 생각하고 있어요.
지금은 당연히 작년 블리즈컨 우승자인 영우라고 생각해요. 다크.
세랄 선수라고 생각합니다.
아직까지는 세랄 선수.
I'll go and say Cero because he's very good at everything. But I wanna surpass him, so yeah, let's wait.
I think Cyril or Dark.
세랄?
한국의 박영호 선수가 지금 작년에 블리즈컨을 우승했기 때문에 아직까지는 최고의 선수라고 생각하고 있어요.
Dark, because he's recently won the BlizzCon.
지금은 아무래도 세랄 선수가 최고라고 생각해.
I think there's a lot of very good players, but I'm always saying Serral because I think Serral is most consistent overall.
일단 저는 프로토스 플레이어이기 때문에 I think SC2 is best.
뭐 딱 한 명을 꼽기에는 좀 어려울 것 같고 제가 보기에는 뭐 영우나 세랄 아니면 성주 그렇게 잘하는 것 같아요. 세 명이.
세랄.
세랄. 마루도 선수요. 성주.
Well, I'm the best, and just because I'm unbeatable. It's Cyril because he's by far the most solid.
저는 세랄, 다크.
세랄.
Yeah, my favorite food is pizza, but without ketchup, that's for sure.
Pizza. It's hard to answer because I love every food. If I choose, it's very hard. Yeah. Maybe sushi? Yeah. Sushi. Yeah. 카레?
치킨 좋아해요. 치킨.
닭.
매운 걸 좋아합니다.
치킨.
Probably just a nice piece of meat.
Beef.
저는 한국의 제육볶음이라는 음식을 제일 좋아하고 있습니다.
파스타.
국 요리 좋아하는데 그냥 국 요리면 다 잘 먹는 것 같아.
Chicken and rice.
일단은 한국 음식은 다 좋아하고 그리고 뭐 햄버거도 좋아하고 치킨도 좋아하고 맛있는 거 다 좋아해요.
저는 요즘은 짜장면이 제일 좋은 것 같아요.
삼겹살. Do you know 삼겹살?
삼겹살?
소고기.
Spaghetti. My favorite food is called Germknödel with vanilla sauce. It's a German word. I actually don't know the English word for it.
BBQ ribs and fruit.
You know, so many people in that video, so many top pros said Cyril is the best. And I bet you there's still a discussion on Team Liquid and Reddit.
Yeah.
You know, they won't believe it.
That's what you took away. I was just thinking about all the foods they mentioned. What is your favorite food, Walter?
My favorite food, I mean, to be very typical of esports, I really love Korean barbecue.
Yeah.
Well, outside of
that's a
that,
good
maybe like
choice.
Chinese. I quite like Chinese takeaway in England.
A lot of them kept it simple. They're like just chicken.
Yeah. Like the first half of the food section, I was like chicken, hamburger, chicken. I'm like, come on, guys. Yeah, pizza a couple times as well. And then ShoWTimE's like a nice piece of meat.
It's time to refocus here. We're going to be resuming from replay. At the moment, the game dropped previously. And things were looking pretty equal, I think, for the most part, right? Like nothing major had happened up to this point. Like we had ShoWTimE, taking the third base as you would expect and going into Templar Archives and all of that. And they had a long time now to think about exactly what they're going to do when the game resumes as well. Like sometimes you're going to change your plan along the way, but because the game has looked so, like, I guess, super standard, I don't expect anything too crazy.
The only thing I would say is that I feel like ShoWTimE may be a little behind, just because the little things haven't gone right.
Yeah.
Just feel like he wanted a little bit more damage for the Adepts, a little bit more damage with the Oracles, etc. And like I was just saying before we went to the break as well, maybe a bit of map control too. We're about to see how it looks as we're pretty much ready to go back into this, as we are in Nightshade, of course, about 7.5 minutes in, about to resume game number 1 of this best of 3, the first game of Group B. And you can see the players. Reynor there is playing away, and we're going to cut to that in any second. It's one of these moments of the game as well where you kind of have to make a decision for the rest of the game too, right? Because you're kind of, it's kind of entering the mid-game, but do you want to end this in the mid-game, or do you want to build up much later as well? You can see Reynor, as we get back in, has just finished up the infestation bit, so he already has options in terms of how he can go from here.
Yeah.
In terms of like going up to Hive, of course, and so on and so forth, where ShoWTimE's also got to say, what do I add on? Do I tech further than Immortal Archon? Do I go, he's going double Robo, etc. And again, do you eventually think, as Reynor probably goes Hive, do you go up to Stargates and Fleet Beacon, or what is the play from there?
How aggressive Reynor is gonna be playing. He's taking the 5th base, like, very normal. He's dropping a Spire now, but remember, +2 melee started pretty early, and he's getting a Centrifugal Hook, so I feel like there might be a Baneling drop option, but ShoWTimE is known for his defense. Then again, if you queue perfectly, multiple Baneling drops at once, it's very hard for Protoss to react in all of those places and defend his probe lines correctly.
And it's absolutely a map where you have the left and the right side attack to run Banelings by as well, right? It doesn't even have to just be the drop. So if you drop the natural and run by a bit in the 3rd, a bit on the 4th, it can get really tough. Well, that is one heck of a wall from Demauer himself to shut down any run-bys on that side. So maybe not so much on the left, and we'll see what he does on the right. But overall, he's setting up into that stage of the game you'd expect to see from ShoWTimE.
Wherever you have the wall, drops are still possible. That's the thing.
Course.
Walls, they're very good against units on the ground trying to do run-bys like these links, but if Banelings were to be dropped inside of his probe line, that's still very, very hard to defend against, especially if it happens simultaneously. Ooh, we might have spotted this here, which would be very nice.
Yeah, it's nice for him to also get those Zealots on the map though, right? Let's see what this Overlord drop can do. Cannon will start a fire, that doesn't matter, as the Banelings will get one-shots on some of these probes, and that's only going to be 8, but it's still 8 less than ShoWTimE was working with before. These Zealots will show up, and the Overlord drop did spot those, so they get shut down pretty quickly. No damage from ShoWTimE, and again, Reynor is looking absolutely unstoppable right now in terms of, you just can't deal any damage to this kid.
Yeah, it's very, very hard. ShoWTimE's actually going to some Phoenix here, maybe worried about some air, some Mutai transition here at this stage is very common. And Reynor just pretty much maxed out here. I think he was really worried about ShoWTimE going for an attack with a lot of High Templars, Archons, which this is what you want to hit. This is the timing. Pre-Hive, you want to basically get as close as possible to maxing out as Protoss and then go for a timing. But now there's so much creep spread. It really feels like neither player will want to play very aggressive. For Reynor, it's very tricky though, because he maxed out on like a Roachling Bane army, right? So his army, as time passes by, is going to get worse and worse, especially as ShoWTimE gets closer to maxing out.
Quite liked what Reynor did. He actually contaminated the storm just before it was done, and he was like, putting his army in the center when he set up that Baneling drop and so on. He didn't see the opportunity to do anything, but if he had seen that opportunity, it would have been backed up by the later storm of ShoWTimE thanks to that contaminate. Another nice little move, but yeah, I think these are both players who are quite happy right now to just let this go later into the game. Reynor is going up in towards Broodlords. ShoWTimE is building his Fleet Beacon, so he's ready to take on the late game as well. And so from across the board, it just doesn't really look as though we're going anywhere. I mean, ShoWTimE starts up the mother chip, so it doesn't even really feel like he's going to hit much of a pre-Broodlord timing.
We could be in for a long game, actually.
Yeah, maybe the first of today, right? I feel we've had some good games today, but not really anything that's like scratched the 20-minute marker.
I feel like every time I say that, though, somebody attacks.
you say that, then all the High Templars get blown up by 2 Banelings. ShoWTimE like tilt GG.
Then
like,
his army is like one mothership.
Yeah.
Here we go. Minus 400, 400.
Well, let's hope, because it is a really cool setup for the game right now, and it is, it's so Europe actually in terms of StarCraft, right? European players, they have this thing at the top level where they really do just get into these long games with each other way more often than not, like ShoWTimE Hero Marine in the group stage or the offline qualifier. Now we do see a few Banes here, not doing much. I mean, ShoWTimE's on the map, but again, he's only going to commit if he really sees an opportunity. But Reynor sees one because he's got a flank set up. Banelings from the bottom right to the right-hand side, the bottom left as well. Good storms across the board as ShoWTimE, though. How long can he put up against this army?
Yeah, the High Templars connected very nicely. There's still a bunch of Banelings here in the Stasis trap that are going to get freed in a second, but ShoWTimE, I feel like maybe that went slightly better for him, but there's a better reinforcing capability for Reynor right now. Yeah. ShoWTimE's supply actually plummeted. I thought he had more High Templars with energy left over, but he doesn't really. Banelings trying to connect on top of those High Templars. They're going to remove some of those, and Reynor is trying to swarm ShoWTimE right now. That Hive, he doesn't want to use it just yet. He thinks he can get the win right now.
Why take the Hive if you can just run across the map with all of these units? I mean, he took a good fight, and now he's capitalizing on that again. ShoWTimE was just missing the storm. He had no time to rebuild up. Not really enough splash damage. I mean, these extra few warp-ins are going to make it a bit closer. He's keeping his Immortals alive, but that's about it for the moment.
He's so rich. He's just unable to spend his bank right now. Yep. ShoWTimE has so much minerals and gas. He probably doesn't have the gateways. He has only 10, and I guess he's producing a lot. But units are not coming out quickly enough here to defend convincingly in the first place. He's going to drop down additional ones, and now he's rebuilding his entire army. Reynor has so much gas to work with. Yeah. This is the dream at this stage, like when you're on 5 bases, just so that you can go into Broodlords, add a bunch of Infestors. We might just see like a ton of spores being dropped down as well in a second if he's worried about air.
Yeah, it feels as though he's kind of, I mean, he's morphing in more Banelings, but I'm not sure if he's really going to go again, because now he's backed off for a while. ShoWTimE's had a bit more time to get High Temple and start getting energy build up once more. There's a lot of Banelings to his right-hand side, couple shield batteries, zealots, etc. Let's see what they can do. The Stalker is part of a wall off here, like a secondary wall, and it looks as though that's one final Bane. It's a good defense. Only 5 probes against that many Banes, and that's great for ShoWTimE, because that is, again, really sane to ShoWTimE as well. Reynor's like, if I'm given this many Banes to harass, I'm not about to hit you with a big army.
They both have a somewhat ideal economy, I would say, right? 81 drones against 75 probes. That's pretty good. But yeah, Neural Parasite now on the way for Reynor. And he already made Pathogen Glands. Banelings actually got caught on the other side of the map here. ShoWTimE's army feels like it's scarier for now, but it relies a lot on having enough High Templars to fight against those Zerg units, and anytime he steps on creep, he gets fully surrounded. So I really like what he's doing. He's going through that North Avenue here. We see Reynor trying to set up a flank from behind, but this could be a very bad fight for Reynor here, even though he's got some Broodlords in the mix.
Yeah, the Broodlord count isn't like super high, right?
Oh,
There's a few Stalkers. It looks like, especially because there's enough underneath. But at the same time, the Warp Prism on this left side of the map is getting damage done. ShoWTimE will recall a few units to protect his 5th base, and that is going to be the mothership back there. But yeah, for the first time, Reynor's really taking damage and is a little slow to clean up some of ShoWTimE's harassment.
And this is typical Reynor, by the way. Those Ling run-bys, always in the one spot where you're the least defended, the least ready. Yeah. Some more probes just died for now for ShoWTimE. It's very annoying. He kind of has to replace them. And Reynor is dealing with this really well. He always has units in position. He's on the other side of the map. He did lose a couple drones, but like he can very easily replace them. He's already back to maxed out and still has so much gas to work with. Like he can just think about what's the perfect army he wants to assemble here and go for it.
No, these Banelings come crashing on in. That is an entire mineral line, and Banelings to spare. At the same time, ShoWTimE's still fighting great storms across all the Zerglings, so suddenly maybe ShoWTimE has some potential, but the Broodlords are going to make this tough. ShoWTimE's going to get the base, and I kind of imagine this is where he backs away and just says, okay, I got a base at least, but I also need to rebuild my own work account.
And he already used the recall, so...
Yeah, he can go back really too easy. I mean, I kind of like this army staying here, though, right? Because the Broods don't want to go that far forwards, because that really pulls them out of position as well.
Yeah. I think Reynor might just attack, though, eventually. But I guess he has a bit of minerals to work with to start building some static defense, because then you're really worried about the counter-attack, right? If you attack with the Broodlords.
Yeah, that Warp Prism was the one thing that finally started to deal some sort of damage here.
That army against no Tempest, like, this is looking very scary.
Yeah, ShoWTimE's just, it felt as though he was wanting to move into something more, but he's just not found that opportunity since this sort of started to build up. And right now, this base is less defended than it was before. He didn't rebuild that much off the earlier attack, so this is going to get hit. At the same time, ShoWTimE is actually coming forwards to take the fight here in the center. It's still just those Broodlords making life so difficult. He's going to blink for them, and this is the moment from ShoWTimE as he comes on forwards. He gets a couple Broods already. The Archon's trying to get underneath as a Time Warp is dropped, and finally some Storms starting to come through as well on top of those Ravagers. And Lynx from the back will get Storm too.
Yeah, Time Warp is active, but Reynor is cleaning up right now. ShoWTimE's running out of units. Look at the supply. A massive lead for the Zerg player.
With money to spend as well, by the way. Reynor can re-max here almost. As ShoWTimE is finally like, oh yeah, I need Tempest. And it's just, I think it all comes back to that first fight with that big surround. ShoWTimE just lost a bit too much, and from there, he's never had the comfortable scenario to build up into that later game army, which he needed for this fight now.
Reynor has so much gas to work with. Like, this is what Zerg dreams are made of.
Yeah.
Like his economy really wasn't disturbed that much. Like ShoWTimE sniped the base at the top, but Reynor was already pretty much retaking another one. He shut down every single Warp Prism that was flying into his base to warp in Zealots. And from there, he's looking to be in a fantastic position here in what was a straight-up game, really. You know, they both went for their attack, went onto multiple bases. ShoWTimE started assembling his army, but it did feel like ShoWTimE has been very timid to transition into Tempest, and that the transition was just very late in general. Like, he just wanted to make stuff happen before that, but Reynor didn't allow for it to happen. And those Zergling counterattacks, they started adding up, as well as Baneling drops and run-bys.
It's kind of nice the way that Reynor did the build-up to Broodlords as well, because he didn't go like 10 Broodlords at once, right? He went 4 and then 4 more. And that really maybe scares ShoWTimE too, because at any point Reynor still has a mass of, you know, Bane Ravage, and if he attacks with that and you're building like 3 Tempests at a time, then it's not looking so great. So yeah, definitely has been a bit timid to move up, but maybe just because of the way that Reynor got there.
And now both players are still trying to assemble the perfect army here to fight in this game right now. ShoWTimE kind of struggling on the economy side of things. 62 probes. We have 66 drones on the other side.
Yeah.
But Reynor is already maxed out, and his bank is building up quicker for sure because of the amount of bases that he has.
Yeah, I mean, that's the crazy thing, right? ShoWTimE just has not had constant Zealot run-bys, and the couple he's had have been kind of shut down early. So apart from the one time he sniped that 12 o'clock base, Reynor's just always had another base ready to go. And like if Zealots hit this base now, and if they were taking it down, there's the base back on the 12 o'clock again. So he just has mining consistently. He has, you know, 68 drones, like you said, it's perfectly fine, and it's a good economy, and it's consistently building up that bank while he just sits back and improves his army too.
Yeah, Reynor's doing great on the upgrades as well. +3 melee, +3 missile, +2 carapace, +2 Zerg fire attacks, and he's getting all of the additional upgrades that he needs as well. He's keeping ShoWTimE very busy, attacking in the south here with the Ravagers. They're kind of becoming more and more expandable at this point. He wants to replace them with more expensive units. And look at the production type, 32 links.
Yeah.
So he's looking to keep on doing those run-bys. Like, the Protoss army is kind of immobile, especially with like the Mothership and those Tempests.
Yeah, it really is. That was a storm drop to try and get a couple drones. Gets 4. ShoWTimE was just out of position there, and that base came under some heavy fight, and there was a lot of his gateways there too, so hopefully that doesn't affect him too much if he has to then reproduce later. Gotta say, Reynor's mineral bank has been drained a little bit, right? So it's not just sat there ready to instantly rebuild. If ShoWTimE can take a fight right now, but that's an undefended base in the top right, ShoWTimE at the very least here going to be hoping he can do something up in the 9 o'clock.
I'm really surprised he took that one instead of the 6 o'clock.
Yeah, because he's already down that sort of direction. I wonder if it had something to do with the way he was just pushing and attacking at the time. Yeah, actually loses an Infestor right away as Lings now make their way into that 4th base. And ShoWTimE going to keep on taking damage, or 5th base, I should say.
Reynor's map awareness and Zergling run-bys is just so top tier.
Yeah.
Every single time you leave one of your bases alone for 1 second, Lings are there. They do a ton of damage to buildings. He forces the recall again. He's just so good at it.
Now the Tempests are out though, right? It feels like Reynor's army is that little bit tougher to do something with because the Broodlords are so much less scary. And obviously now he has to kind of build up that Corruptor count a bit to actually have a way to fight the Tempests back. So it does feel like ShoWTimE's got himself maybe into a bit of a better spot than he was a few moments ago. And as he backs away now, again, he did deny that base, and it is 5 against 5 bases right now.
And here comes the upgrades. Reynor is about to be 3-3-3-3.
That's true. For ShoWTimE just chilling out, no attack, only 1 attack upgrade on the air units, only 1 shield upgrade, and those are things which actually, in a later, longer game like this, really can start to make a difference.
Especially if, like, when he's doing warp-ins with Zealots and everything inside of the main base, having +3 armor would be amazing. Like +2 air feels like something that already should be on the way, but because Reynor has been so proactive with the Zerglings and shut down so much of the economy, he finds himself in his position where like ShoWTimE is not where he would like to be at in terms of upgrades and just army and economy, everything really. And now Burrow being on the way, transitioning into Infestors. If ShoWTime's not ready and doesn't have enough observers to deal with this, This could be a disaster.
It really could be, as right now the Tempests are getting caught by a few of these Corruptors which move forwards, and that's 2 Tempests already down. At least the Archons and Storms now showing up as well, and a few Corruptors go down. Now a big recall back to the right side as he realizes he needs more help defending this Roach Ravager attack. So ShoWTimE trying to be fancy in 2 locations, but overall it feels like he's the one that's hurting more from all of this.
Yeah, this was super cost effective for Reynor. He saw those Tempests kind of idle for a little bit.
I tell you what though, Reynor's work account's down though.
Resources lost. ShoWTimE actually lost a bunch more.
Yeah.
It feels kind of rare, right, for Protoss against Zerg at this stage?
It definitely is, right, because usually the Zerg is the one who's got like cheaper units that you use more of, and you're meant to have the stronger economy, right, to rebuild, so it's definitely tough for ShoWTimE. And fights like this don't help. You lose 2 Archons right off the bat, Lings are still here to keep picking away at their space. ShoWTimE, he recalled over to the right side. I think that was with the Mothership though, so I'm not sure what he can do to get back down the bottom.
He might have to go all in, like his economy just got wrecked.
Yeah.
He lost his most important base, lost a bunch of probes there. And now it's like, what do? Do you just play slow, or do you let the Zerg just completely outproduce you, have way more bases? Archons now getting caught on this side of the map. These upgrades are paying off so much for Reynor.
And every single time one of these fights happen, Reynor just seems to have the slightly better amount of units, right? You know, it's never ShoWTimE who's just like, oh, I've got 2 extra Archons that you can deal with. It's always Reynor just able to clean up. And that's where that resource loss difference will be coming from. These little skirmishes around, and you know, again, this big army from ShoWTimE probably doesn't know where to go for the best, and I feel like I get what you mean, right? Try and all in and do something. The one thing I'll say is that Reynor's work account is still low, right? He is 53 drones, and that's not super crazy, so it's not like Reynor is mining so much more than ShoWTimE. It's just what's already happened that's making ShoWTimE's life so difficult as Lings strike once again.
These links are ridiculous. He's everywhere. In the meantime, Neural Parasite's gonna come into play. Infestors weren't burrowed for some reason. They're gonna get stormed on top of, but there's nothing to deal with the Brood loss at this point. He lost all of his Tempests. And ShoWTimE is gonna tap out Reynor with a very solid game number 1 here. 24 minutes. Action-packed.
Yeah.
A bloodbath, if you will.
Great first game from Reynor. Again, really impressive first 5, 6, 7 minutes of the game where I feel like in those first even 10 minutes, he was in full control, and ShoWTimE really showed his resilience to stay in the game for that long afterwards. And in the end, Reynor takes it down, and I think throughout the game, Reynor was in control. A couple moments maybe looked a bit scary, but Reynor always had an answer. He always had a counterattack that moved something somewhere else, and ShoWTimE just could not keep up with that. He couldn't stabilize long enough. Hey, look at that stat. It just disappeared. ShoWTimE 16-1 in matches versus Zerg since the new patch. Hello? That's crazy.
That's sick. Well, they mentioned a very important thing on the desk as well, is that Reynor, he barely ever loses to anybody that's not sterile.
Yeah.
Like that just doesn't happen. He's supposed to beat most people, and then if he'll lose to someone, you know, obviously they still trade series, it'll be sterile. I guess this tournament is really stacked, so maybe this doesn't apply as much, you know, if he's going to play like some of the top Koreans.
Yeah.
It shows yet again, like, this guy is just getting so good at this game and has been for a while, and even against a very strong opponent like ShoWTimE, really delivered it in that game number 1.
He really did. Game number 2 going to be on Eternal Empire as a map. There's another one where you can sit back, buckle up, and get ready for a game as Reynor's ready for it, dancing around, bobbing his head, giving us some Hearthstone vibes as we get into our game number 2.
Actually went pretty well with the music that was
yeah, it did.
All right, let's jump right into it here, starting in the southwest of Eternal Empire, representing Team Clash from Italy. It's Reynor.
Up against the blue Protoss on the top right-hand side, Dimaro himself, ShoWTimE.
Representing Berlin International Gaming, freshly recruited.
Yeah, great. I mean, honestly, even so far, just the round of 24 is a great result, considering his bracket was really one of the tougher ones in the offline groups, in the offline bracket stages, or the offline qualifier stages.
Yeah, beating Gabe, I think, is pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. Especially, and I mean, Gabe only dropped down.
Beating Gabe while on Clan Big as well.
Yeah, man. So when that team announcement came out, everyone was like, surely Gabe has to join Big too, right? Like, and then it's like, but is he then Big Gabe, or is he Big Gabe?
It's double big.
Yeah. You'd absolutely have to name change, right? There's no way about it.
Sure.
You have to just lose the Hero Marine at that point. You know, fully live the meme.
So after what happened last game, maybe I expect a little bit more of an aggressive, you know, potential game here out of both players on Eternal Empire. You know, it's like somewhat shorter rush distance. And taking, I think in particular, 4th and 5th base can be tricky for either side with the way the map is set up with these ramps and everything. We'll see. Like maybe ShoWTimE might think he needs to play a little more aggressive himself in particular, because like that was a solid performance out of Reynor, just like expanding, doing all the right transitions, making the right units at the right time, and he's so relentless with those links. Like, how do you deal with this? You can't afford to make like 10 cannons per base. You just can't.
On the plus side, I think the one thing this map is good for is to really shut down Lingbane run-bys, right? Because you can wall a certain way off this front natural to kind of just wall very early this ramp here, and then you move over to the 3rd base, and obviously you can wall a bit there. But in general, if your army's there, you move down to the 4th, and it's only really that one pathway to counterattack on. So that's maybe the benefit here from ShoWTimE, and maybe even Reynor plays a different style from being so Lingbane heavy, based on the fact that it might be a bit tougher to execute us. For the moment, ShoWTimE continues with the Stargate play over in the natural. It's going to be kind of tough for Reynor to figure out where he should send his Overlord to see that.
Yeah, I was very impressed as well last game with Reynor's initial defense. Like those Adepts and those Oracles were completely shut down for the most part. They barely got any drones, you know. Only when there was 3 Oracles could they finally fly in and do some damage, but after that, they got chased away. They were kind of like, you know, idle in the middle of the map, not doing too much. So that was really well played by Reynor. I feel like most Zergs, you know, they would have taken at least a little bit more damage, if not way more.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like, his defense was, I think, the best I've ever seen against a 3 Oracle opening. It was absolutely on point. Stalker here early signifies probably the lack of a Phoenix, and that's what we kind of were expecting to see a little bit from the last game, that he then didn't actually do. As his first Oracle finishes up, I kind of get the feeling, because he's got the Stalker, he won't go Phoenix. He'll go 2nd Oracle at least, and I think, again, he will go 3 Oracles, and probably just into that Robo follow-up from there to try and get on the map, similar to the last game, right? Only maybe this time without the Adept pressure, so that he can just do things that little faster.
He's still hiding it here. This is a sick mind game.
Yeah.
Like, I thought for sure ShoWTimE was going to send that to the Overlord and kill it, but then that reveals to Reynor what he's doing. I wonder if he might just fly across the map with the 2nd Oracle and kind of let Reynor think that there might not be any Oracles, because we don't see any spores on the way right now. There's a chance Reynor reacts a little late here to these Oracles being produced. Right. Yeah, ShoWTimE's doing that. He's flying across the map.
And he goes into Phoenix as well afterwards.
Oh my god.
It's a real mind game. It's definitely not the expectation of what's meant to happen.
And there was no Ling on the way either. So there's still no spores on the way.
Yeah, this is really good for ShoWTimE. Great mind game that's absolutely looking as though it's going to pay off, heading down to the bottom of the map. They will still go 3rd Oracle behind this as well, so you still will have 3 of those. Maybe 2 stay aggressive and 1 stays at home to defend the 3rd. As here we go, the 2 show up, and they're going to dive on some drones. Only 1 Queen in the main base as well, and that's 4, 5, 6, 7 workers down and counting. And compare that to the first game.
Yeah, he's already lost way more.
Nothing.
That was amazing here by ShoWTimE. So smart to just hide that, let Reynor think that there is no Stargate play in the works. Even damaging that one Overlord, you know, the Overlord just couldn't fly in and confirm anything. I guess seeing a Stalker is somewhat of a tell that something could be happening, but Reynor took the risk, you know, he has like kind of like 1 chance out of 2, so to speak, that it could be a Stargate or not. Skipped the Spore for a little too long and gets punished for it here by losing quite a few drones. ShoWTimE is on 47 walkers to 42 now, and he's going to be able to apply a lot more pressure, you know, force more Queens. He can fly in there, pick up one of the Queens, kill more drones. Like, there isn't even a Spore on the natural right now.
Yeah, I feel like he feels pretty safe. A few Lings will counterattack, but he has got a good amount of Adepts warped in, Sentries joining them. So the Oracles don't even turn around to defend. He's just going to turn those Lings away, so no problem there. Now triple Oracle ready to hit the natural. Could do quite a bit, especially, I mean, Spore just about to finish up, right? So you fly straight past here. He could have maybe gone for even a Queen kill or something at this stage.
Yeah, prevented some mining here for a little bit, and it's very annoying for Reynor to have to resaturate the gases, you know. Takes a bit of effort here for a second. Reynor going for a Spire.
Yeah, which is interesting when someone already opens Stargate, right? Because they already have the tools to start responding as soon as they figure it out. You can just start Phoenix production right away, so maybe a little bit of a gamble as well, though, where he's just like, man, I've really had a terrible early game, And one way to get back into the game more reliably is a spy, or maybe not more reliably, but it's got a better chance of bringing me back in than just trying to play something standard off what has been such a weak drone count.
It's a sick location, by the way.
Yeah, it is, right?
Like, we just saw ShoWTimE fly to the back of the main base to try and confirm what tech buildings were there. But the spire being between the natural and third base, that's like one of the least likely spots that ShoWTimE will be able to scout, because that's in the middle of the creep. The queens can be there, they can just kind of do moving shots. But now he's going for aggression inside of the main base. And he might be able to start realizing that there is no gas-heavy unit. You know, there is no road, no hydralist, and that there is a spire on the way. If he realizes, it's great for him.
He's adept, should have just stayed in the main base there. There was nothing to deal with them. ShoWTimE, you know, shades them away and he gets them back in the warp prism, so they're still alive. But there was so much potential to just keep killing drones. Either way, ShoWTimE has gone up to 3 bases, fully on, you know, full on macro, without really taking any damage, and obviously doing so much damage himself.
I wonder how curious he's feeling right now about what Reynor's doing. I guess he's just happy he's killing drones, but confirming the tech of your opponent at this stage in the game is very important.
The fact he's missed that is such a shame, and you see even hallucinations now, and now he sees it. And again, it's just that little bit of a rough time, and immediately starts up a Phoenix. And that's the one benefit he has right now, the fact that he already has a Phoenix that he saved earlier, and he can go straight into Phoenix production off the Stargate.
First class transport.
Yeah. You know, never mind flying your way back home. Get back here ASAP. Full on 50 energy recall. Yes, this shouldn't be too bad though, right? Couple Stalkers with the Phoenix combined. You know, shield battery's about to finish. Cannons, this should be okay. I don't think Reynor's going to do too much, but it is just the little things that Reynor can do that he will use to get back in games.
Yeah, only killed 3 probes here, and it looks like those Phoenixes, if they can kite well enough, which is always super hard because of the acceleration.
Yeah, wow. The recall on that Phoenix to bring it back and make this a bit more holdable was actually such a good call, because it's really cost the Mutalist doing any damage at all, whereas before maybe they could have just got like 5, 6, 7. That's such a worthwhile recall.
And Reynor is committing here to those Mutas, so I think he's really hoping to be able to get on top of those Phoenixes, take them out, and they just kind of win the game right out from there. Maybe go for the main base, force the units to come back there, and then swarm with Zerglings on the ground. Right now, he's making a ton of units. He's staying on 63 walkers, getting +1 Zerg Flyer attacks. And ShoWTimE must be starting to realize, yeah, that's a lot of Mutalisks. Like, you're not really making anything else with your gas, so ShoWTimE needs to make sure he preserves his Phoenix count. If he overextends even for 1 second, this would be very bad. But Reynor really trying to force those Phoenixes to get in there by attacking the entire wall. He's going to try and bridge the natural base.
Yeah.
The units there were not there.
Yeah, he's going just straight on dive on this. I don't know where the Archons are. There they are. They're going across the map. So ShoWTimE's going to counter well. Pretty much everything here from Reynor will continue to try and break on through. The Phoenix are getting caught as they pop out. He builds a second Stargate, so 2 Phoenix at a time. I mean, that's a 4th base that goes down, but I feel like you probably need the 3rd base here, because you're losing your own 3rd base at the same time as ShoWTimE. Reynor really doesn't have anything to go back home with, though. And a 2 base against 2 base scenario for ShoWTimE should be pretty good for him. He might even just dive straight towards the natural. It's a lot of overlords.
Oh, the Mutas are coming back. And there's not that much anti-air there.
Yeah.
I don't think he has a prism either, so it's further away. He needed Stalkers in his composition. Guardian Shield is going to help, but these Archons...
These Archons are not enough, right? The Mutalists spread out pretty well, and while the Archons trade pretty well, the Warp Prism can only micro for so long before it is targeted. But here come the Phoenix! Maybe just a little bit too late, because there's 1 Archon remaining. The Phoenix will pick up some kills, don't get me wrong. He's killed a lot of drones, but remember, he lost his entire 3rd base at the same time, and this attack is still ongoing.
Yeah, the Expo here, the natural, not quite going to be breached here with the wall. One single Immortal is trying to escape right now, actually, from that attack.
Yeah, which, I mean, at this point, it kind of feels like you need anything you can take, right?
Oh no, Immortal!
Gets caught. ShoWTimE's worker count isn't bad compared to Reynor's. It's just the lack of a 3rd base to mine from really takes so much away from you. And especially because now the Mutalists are still in pretty good numbers, you're going to be so afraid to move out anywhere again. You've got to fully rely on these Phoenix being able to clean up.
Reynor salvaged his position so well. I really like the bold move of saying, all right, this is not going the way I wanted. I'm just going to go for more Mutalisks and just force a bad fight out of him. I'm surprised that ShoWTimE moved out to try and go for the attack. I guess he was just feeling safe at home, thought he could hold on against the Mutas with just his Phoenixes, but Reynor being able to start the base trade so much earlier definitely put him ahead. And he killed all of the probes inside of that 3rd base. That wasn't evacuated by ShoWTimE at all.
I actually don't mind the idea of ShoWTimE pushing across the map if the counterattack of Reynor doesn't come in like it does.
Yeah.
But the counterattack coming in so quickly is exactly what you said, and it's exactly right, I think, because all of a sudden ShoWTimE's already warping in back at home, and then eventually the Mutas come back too, and there's just no warp-ins added to the original army. ShoWTime going to go for one more attempt. He's pretty much all in here as he has sentries to defend the natural. Across the map, he pushes into the third base, but again, it's that Mutalist count. At least the Phoenix count is good to try and fight this off.
Yeah, those Phoenixes are putting in work against those Mutas, but the Mutas are going to clear out the Archons on the ground. Now all he has to do is Skype with those Roaches to deal with the ground army of ShoWTime, but the Phoenixes are still... I guess they will be able to pick up those Roaches. The Phoenix is really starting to turn the game around here for ShoWTime. He's got to a point where he has so many of them.
Yeah, absolutely right. The Mutalist count is pretty much gone, and now you are just kind of stuck on Roaches as Reynor, which... Okay, ShoWTime doesn't have any Immortals, but what's to stop him building a couple of Immortals here and starting to set up into that spot, which would be so good for him. Catches these Banelings as well, that's really nice. And at this point with the Mutas farm, maybe you can just retake a third base.
Yes, 10 Phoenixes. And no upgrades for them though. Roddy's somewhere watching this. He's like, where is the first one?
You know what, you're so right. As we have the Hydras down about to finish, I do like that from Reynor, because I feel like what is there to defend Hydras in this army of ShoWTime? Like, to an extent, Charged Lot Immortal kind of just does the job, right? But at the same time, once there's so many Hydras, you really kind of need Storm, and that's not something ShoWTime's ready to commit into. As the aggression here from Reynor, keeping up at the front, he's really just trying to scare ShoWTime away from ever taking a third base.
Those Roaches are actually trading pretty well here.
Yeah, they are. But
they will get cleaned up eventually. Yeah. Phoenixes need to move back into that position. ShoWTime needs to retake the third base and then start harassing again with the Phoenixes, but Reynor is looking to transition into Hydralisks.
So the one good thing for this from Reynor is while he loses a lot, it bought him time where the Hydras are coming out, and the Phoenix aren't just there picking them up one or two at a time. So now he's got a lot of Hydras. The question is, does he get to that critical mass where they just kill things so much faster than they die? Because Hydras are really a glass cannon unit.
I mean, it's tricky too, because ShoWTime can just kind of fly around, maybe fly into the main base of the natural where there is no Hydras, and then kill a bunch of drones. He sees that there were some Hydras kind of by themselves. So he's going to fly and kill a bunch of them, but loses some Phoenixes there.
Yeah,
and he's still moving out. Why is he moving out?
I don't know why you move out against the Hydras. I think there's just too many Hydras already there, right?
Yeah.
It feels really tough. The ShoWTime, if he's going to fight that, needs a big Zealot count, and he doesn't have a big Zealot count, and one Warp-in is just not enough right now.
He's almost supply blocking Reynor here, maybe a few more Overlords.
Yeah, I mean, these Phoenix have a lot of potential still, and it really scares Reynor from moving out as well. Because if ShoWTime keeps the pressure up and Reynor moves out, he's going to kill all the drones and Reynor's all in. And while Reynor's got a good amount of Hydras, I'm not convinced it's enough to be happy being all in with. So, interested to see what happens here.
Ooh.
Phoenix have to be paid attention to. You need those in the fight.
A bit of a slugfest here on Eternal Empire. They really got into each other's face and played very aggressive.
Yeah, no, they really did. As the Hydras continue across, it's about to happen. This big fight that could determine the game. I mean, Reynor's only on 41 drones, so ShoWTime having a third base back up is so good for him. These Phoenix should be able to fight this amount of Hydras. He's just a little slow to the pickups.
He's like, why? You attack me?
Yeah, I attack you. I kind of like this for ShoWTime, honestly. I feel like, yeah, you're not maybe purely properly set up to deal with Hydras, but 3 Immortals, couple of Archons, that count's only getting higher, and every second that passes is a bad second for Reynor right here.
Actually, he will up in sentries here to make sure he wouldn't let this army up. Yeah. There is a single Ravager trying to break that. Reynor is moving in for the kill. Phoenixes came back for the defense. It's so scary to actually move up that ramp. He doesn't know how many more force fields are going to be available. And now ShoWTime, realizing that Reynor is very committed to this attack, might be behind in walkers, and he is right in that. Gets a bunch of shield batteries on the expansion. ShoWTime just got worried that there was going to be an attack on the other side. Gets ready just on time. And this is why we call him D-Mauer.
Reynor also realized that he can't kill ShoWTime here, so he stopped just building purely units, which he was doing. He was just reinforcement Hydras and things. Now he realizes this is not going to work. He's bought too much time. It's not hit fast enough. So he goes back into drone production, starts up Baneling speed, and takes a 4th base. So Reynor is going to try and play this game out from a pretty bad economy. And this is why I actually think ShoWTime's position could get him to. And now that he's here, I think this is pretty much the best spot ShoWTime could ask to be in. Plus he can get that Storm, which is essential against a Lingbane Hydra-Com.
Gets to supply block him. I mean, there is no crit spread. Like, how are you going to engage?
Yeah.
If Protoss moves out and fights you in the middle of the map, you're not going to have the mobility that you would have on creep. Storms are going to land. It's going to be very bad. Even if you set up, like, you know, a 360 surround like he did in previous game to be able to get the defense that he got early on against the big army of ShoWTime. But yeah, those Phoenixes also, they give you so much initiative. You can just keep on flying around, find the one spot where there is not enough defense, maybe just the one spore. you fly and you kill a bunch of drones, and that's just damage that you achieved and you trade for energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, these Phoenix are really just great to have kept alive throughout all of this, right? Because now they're still going to harass a bit as Reynor's trying to drone up. Boom, you jump in the main, and you don't want to stick there for long, but he probably realistically could have got a couple drones on the gas, right?
Yeah.
And those are little things which would have just kept Reynor that little back. It's just the possibility of doing that, but the biggest thing has to be those storms available, and I just don't see Reynor's army being big enough or good enough to realistically fight them.
Oh, yeah, no, this is, at this point, this is pretty bad for Reynor. That ShoWTimE got to storm that easily at this stage. He's going for 14 more links. And Reynor is getting ready to defend against the push. You see, he's not going crazy on the drones. He's getting +2 melee. So I think the plan is just to start creep spreading for there and then kind of hope that ShoWTimE maybe goes for an attack a little too fast, overextends, and then he gets some big bailing connections, cleans up, and somehow wins the game. But you can't really expect for ShoWTimE to make these kind of big mistakes.
Oh my god, those lings. I love the preemptive force fields on the left as well, so they have no chance of getting away. The High Templar probably not meant to be that far out on the right side, but they helped to clean up the last couple. I mean, that's just painful as Reynor's the one who's getting aggressive again. He is building infestation bits, so he's not like all in with this. There's a couple of Banes sneak by, and that is 5 probes. But that's only going to bring Reynor into a 4-worker lead, and again, his economy is just not really what he wants it to be.
Yeah, this is where, like, some of the very few Banes that Reynor has, actually, because his economy is not too great. He's very hydraulic heavy. He's got the class cannon army here that Storm loves to melt. How many High Templars do we have?
He does have a lot of gas as well, by the way. So he does maybe have a way to do something if he can just get minerals up, as this base is just gonna live. Meanwhile, 7 drones going down though, so it's still kind of bad for Reynor, right? Anytime he's losing economy here is really tough, as Phoenix finding a few overlords, and ShoWTimE has moved out into an aggressive spot now.
Yeah, he's at the edge of the creep. This is always when you need to consider like the possible engagements that Zerg is going to be trying to take. I haven't seen an observer here really, but he might just be confident to take the fight, land the perfect storms, and try and win the game right there and then.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with him moving forwards, but at the same time, the second you're on creep, that can be where everything falls apart, right? And you know, Reynor is so scary to play against with all of that run-by potential, the surround potential. He's so good at moving his army, and so ShoWTimE just backs off, probably just saying, you know, if I go up to 5 base and 5 base, again, if you're still just building Lingvei and Hydra, this is a better game for me the longer it goes until you get a solid transition up.
I'm surprised ShoWTimE hasn't rebuilt a wall off here on his natural base, because there's like this giant hole in it where like if Lings were to run by the side of the main base, that would be pretty hard to defend. But I guess he would just rely on warpins. Looking to try and take a 5th base.
Yeah, just dropping this down. I mean, it's one of those stages where base number 5 kind of comes into play, and you know, because it is a long game, right, where you've been mining the main and natural all this time. The 3rd is pretty much mined out as well, so to kind of survive on 60-ish workers, you kind of need base number 5, which I guess you could argue is the one thing that's been good for Reynor, is that obviously ShoWTimE's been limited on mining because his other bases have been mining out. Unfortunately, that doesn't really take away from the fact that you're in the exact same scenario. It's not like he's had a 4th base while ShoWTimE hasn't, so
yeah,
it's still just feels a bit tough as he goes in towards Hive Tech, trying to find a way to fight the ShoWTimE army.
I think ShoWTimE might just do a pre-Hive timing with +3 attack upgrades and like very close to being maxed out. But he's probably very wary of those links. I mean, look, those links are somehow achieving stuff. Like, I don't know how he does it, but Reynor has such good map awareness, and every time there is anything out of position, even for 1 second, he's ready to catch it.
Yeah, he jumped on that right there, gets himself an Archon kill. That's exactly what you're looking for. Little bits and pieces like that, they drag Reynor back into this. Now, ShoWTimE, he's got to be considering a little bit of what he wants to do here, because he is starting to close in on being maxed out. Hive is also finishing as well. So you don't want to be too passive to let the Zerg just completely back into this, but again, you don't want to go fighting on creep either. It's a real tough scenario. It says, okay, keep peeking, I'll get that up, keep teching here. This is a bit of a clash, couple of storms dropping down. Looks like Reynor wants to fight with the concave, but I mean, ShoWTimE's not going to run up into a concave, is he?
Yeah, that would have been very bad. Actually, he's moving back in there.
Yeah, but now the concave wasn't here right away, so he maybe felt there was a bit more opportunity.
I think it's still good enough against this army that ShoWTimE has there, because it's not everything that he's got.
And the storms are like in the back as well, so they can't come in to force the Hydras back and to give him more room to move up the ramp. Little run by, not going to find anything. Couple Zealots too scary, even to snipe that Archon down.
I think if ShoWTimE realized how slow the tech into Hive was from Reynor, he might have just maxed out and tried to go for the fight. But instead, he's dropping down second Stargate Fleet Beacon on the other side. Reynor has so much gas. Like, he's finally spent a lot of it, but he's still got some left over. And I guess he's going to be taking the gases on his additional bases. So it looks like he might want to add some lurkers to his army.
ShoWTimE is kind of coming through here, and again, just can't really find a way to take advantage of what maybe is a better composition. And the other thing he wants to, he's building carriers, which is really a move which says, hey, I want to sit back and I'm just going to be happy on 5 base. I'm going to get an air army. And the next moment of this game that's going to be very important is when Reynor hits a lurker timing, essentially, because if these lurkers do nothing, then what preparation has he had to go up against carriers?
Yeah. I mean, ShoWTimE is... On the worker count, is still doing great here. 61 to 49. Yeah. Like, this is...
fantastic.
Such a weird game, to be honest. Like, Reynor's just been getting ready for an attack that just hasn't been coming.
Yeah. And then he sets up for like the next attack, which also didn't come. And then it feels like now he's got the lurker den up. Is he going to use it? Well, there's going to be a surround. Is there a way for ShoWTimE to get out of here? Probably not. Drops all the storms he can as desperately as possible. He recalls a little bit of the army, but most of it goes down. A couple of Immortals are saved. Reynor picks off a lot. ShoWTimE had a lot at home, and that's why his army just wasn't even in the slightest chance going to hold that off.
Only one of those Immortals actually got out of it.
Yeah, I thought 2 did, but 1 died last second, huh?
And now Reynor's on the warpath. I mean, he's so low on the worker count, 47, that his maxed out army supply is 153 against the 100 of ShoWTimE. Sees that there is Zealots doing a counterattack. This is not cost effective at all.
No.
Did Reynor find a way to win this game?
I actually think he maybe just did. I think ShoWTimE was a bit too aggressive with half his army. He got surrounded. He didn't expect that from Reynor, and now lurkers are here too. And it's just before these carriers get into that count, which makes them so very good. You know, 1 or 2 carriers is nothing against these Hydras.
Yeah.
Up to 6 or 7, they're going to be
terrible
fantastic.
against what Reynor has.
Yeah, exactly. They'd be great like 2 or 3 minutes from now, and ShoWTimE absolutely believed he had that amount of time. But after losing so much of his army, he doesn't. So now here we go. Reynor sieging up those lurkers. I mean, he's got an attack on the right side as well, and ShoWTimE just feels like he's kind of guessing where he should go for the best.
So Seismic Spines finally finished, meaning that these lurkers, they teleport on the ground, they got blink.
Yeah, it's pretty good, those lurkers, getting that range as well, as the Hydra's going to be up to the top side, able to pick their way through the Nexus here. The extra lurkers still just slowly pushing in. So ShoWTimE in the last couple of minutes lost half his army, his 4th and 5th base, and now has his 3rd base sieged by lurkers. This went so wrong so quickly. And
that top left base is about to be scouted here, which is a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, Reynor's just, he knows what the attempt is here. A couple of good storms to start this off, but the thing is, even if ShoWTimE cleans this up and forces Reynor to back away, Reynor's now backing away into a fantastic position, 5 base against 3.
Carriers actually went too far forward here, and ShoWTime's just gonna tap out here. Reynor,
GG.
47 drones is all you need.
Apparently so. What a game. Like I said, I think ShoWTimE was in a very good position after a certain point for a long time, but he was just a bit too aggressive trying to keep Reynor down.
You see the face he made?
I did not.
Not bad face.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. I really thought this was going to a game 3, but it will not. And Reynor looking pretty happy there as he comes out. First victory in Group B. Might be the first victory on his run to a good playoff run, maybe a championship here. We know he's one of the best. And ShoWTimE, like I say, he really showed up though. I mean, it's promising considering he's got 3 other Zergs in his group.